Good afternoon, friends. This is Sunil More from ISA. So, we have the second session with Ramanji, and I would formally introduce you today. Raman Khatwala is a chartered accountant and fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is qualified in 1996 and is practicing in the area of indirect tax, including everything: VAT, Central Excise Service Tax, GST. He has also qualified this as certificate course on indirect tax conducted by the institute. He is a member of PAD Chamber Tax Indirect Tax Committee as well as ASSOCHAM. He is a member, more importantly, of the GST group constituted by ICAI. Last 22 years, CA Ramanji has addressed various seminars, workshops, training sessions on various topics related to taxes. Since December 2016, CA Ramanji has addressed more than 300 seminars and workshops on GST organized by trade associations, CA Institute, chambers, Indian Railways, corporates. He has authored two books on GST, one for GST on job work and another on export and refund under GST. I present to you CA Raman Khatwala. Ramanji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Morisa, for such a nice introduction. Lot of thanks to you. Friends, sorry for being late. There are some technical issues in my system, because of which I am not able to log into the Zoom. Sorry, extremely sorry for keeping you wait. Coming to the topic, I'm just sharing my screen. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Like last time, we had taken the issues of important. We have taken the issues of critical matters in GST, and vis-a-vis the financial package was announced by the Honorable Finance Minister. Today we will be taking up important amendments in GST since the lockdown period. And obviously, your question and answers, which might have been remained unanswered in last time, or those participants who could not join last time, they can please raise their questions. I request everyone to just hold your questions for a while. I'll just take up the important amendments in the next 40 to 45 minutes. Then we'll start your question answer sessions. Friends, since lockdown, the first important amendment was brought in the process of registration. Earlier, the department has not mandated the use of Aadhaar number while you're applying for your registration. But now, they have given you two options. First is either you go for Aadhaar number verification, else your premises will be verified by the department through their inspectors, then only you will be granted your registration in GST. The primary purpose for this verification is, friends, we have seen in the last 3 years, a lot of fake forms have come up, which are evading the taxes, which are simply giving bogus bills or not paying the GST at all. They might be collecting from their customers, but they're not paying the GST. So to have a control on these ill elements, we can say, the department have come up with this new system of registration. Second is filing of returns. Friends, since the lockdown was declared on the 22nd of March, since then many entrepreneurs could not file their returns for the month of February itself. So the department has come out with a scheme whereby they have given some relief for the filing of returns from the month of February, March, April, and May. For these 4 months, they have given some relief to us. Now, what are the reliefs? The first relief is that if your aggregate turnover, if your annual turnover exceeds rupees 5 crores, then you are compulsory required under the existing GST mechanism to file the return GSTR 3B within 20th of the next month. For example, you're supposed to file the return for February 2020. Then the last date for filing the return GSTR 3B for month of February is 20th of March 2020. But now the government has said that you can file the return and pay the taxes beyond the stipulated period. Like in case of 5 crore turnover people, the period is 20th of the month. So they can file the return beyond this 20th date, but within 15 days from the stipulated period. So in my example, which I've taken just now for the month of February, if your last date for filing the return is 20th of March, then now you could have filed the return without any penalty, without any late fees, without paying any interest till 5th of April 2020. You are getting additional 15 days now. Earlier, there was a period of 20 days from the end of the month. But now you are getting 35 days from the end of the month to file the return. But if you could not file the return within 15 days from the stipulated period, that is in totality 35 days, then you are supposed to pay interest at the rate of 9% per annum. Earlier, this interest was 18% per annum. But now during this COVID period, the department has reduced the interest portion by half. It says that it will be 9%. The only condition is that you have to file the return before 24th of June 2020. Meaning thereby, if you could not file the return GSTR 3B, I'm only talking about GSTR 3B. I'm not talking about GSTR 1, friends. If you could not file the return GSTR 3B before 24th of June 2020 for the periods pertaining to February, March and April 2020. Please note, I'm not talking about May month. The ongoing month has not been taken up by me till now. I'm just talking about the month February, March and April. For these last 3 months, you are supposed to file the return GSTR 3B before 24th of June 2020. If you could not file the return till 24th of June, then you will be liable to pay interest at the rate of 18% per annum. The reduced rate of interest of 9% is applicable for only those business enterprises who were filing their return before 24th June. Now, I would like to take up another question, friends, here. For example, for the month of February 2020, your total output liability, say, is rupees 10 lakh. And in your input register, you are having a balance of rupees 8 lakh. It means that you will be paying rupees 2 lakh from your bank. Now, people say that if I pay my tax of rupees 2 lakhs before the stipulated period, but I file my return GSTR 3B after the stipulated period, meaning thereby for the month of February, I am supposed to file my GSTR 3B before 4th of April 2020, so that I am not being liable to pay any interest, penalty or late fees. Now, on 2nd of April, I have paid my tax of rupees 2 lakhs through the challan for the month pertaining to February 2020. But I have filed my GSTR 3B on 15th of April. Now, what is the scenario? Will I am liable to pay the interest then? You may argue that since I have already paid the challan of rupees 2 lakh and 8 lakh rupees is the balance lying in my input register and my total liability of tax is 10 lakh. So I have paid complete tax to the government. So why should I be liable to pay any interest now? Friends, you are wrong. whatever you are depositing by way of challan is simply a deposit of money in an electronic cash ledger maintained by the GST department on your login ID. It doesn't tantamount to payment of tax. Payment of tax is completed only and only once you file GSTR 3B. Till that time, you have not filed your GSTR 3B. You might have deposited the challan, but still that doesn't mean that you have paid the tax. So please keep in your mind, while filing your tax returns or depositing your tax amount, your complete liability of paying the tax comes to an end only after filing your GSTR 3B return. Okay? And second important thing to notice, you must file all your returns for the period pertaining to February, March and April GSTR 3B before 24th of June so that you are able to avail the benefit of reduced rate of interest. And of course, if you are filing within 15 days from the due date, like 20th of March or April or May, then you are exempted from paying at all the complete interest amount also. The second amendment was for those taxpayers, for those business enterprises whose turnover is less than 5 crores. For them, the government has relaxed the provision and they have said that for the month of February, March and April, you can file your GSTR 3B. Repeating again, GSTR 3B for the month of February, March and April by 29th or 30th of June, depending on the state where you are registered. So for those taxpayers, for those business enterprises whose aggregate turnover is less than 5 crores, they can file GSTR 3B by 29th or 30th of June without paying any interest, any late fees or any penalty. Next, they have prescribed currently as per the law, if you are filing your GSTR 3B after the stipulated period, then you are supposed to pay rupees 50 per day as a late fees. But now they have made a provision during the COVID period. If you are filing your GSTR 3B for the month of February, March and April, again I am repeating, it is February, March and April, not the month of May. There is a separate provision for the month of May. So if you are filing your GSTR 3B for the February, March and April before 24th of June 2020, then you are not liable to pay any late fees. But this date is only for those business enterprises whose turnover are more than 5 crores. As we have seen in the earlier slide, if your turnover is less than 5 crores, then your last date of filing is 29th or 30th of June, depending on the state where you are registered. Similarly, ITC 04, this return is required to be filed on a quarterly basis for those persons who are sending their goods for job work, for repairing purpose. And they are supposed to file this return, ITC 04, on a quarterly basis. Many business enterprises could not file their return for the quarter ended March 2020 before the stipulated period. The last date for filing ITC 04 is 25th from the end of the quarter. So those business enterprises who could not file their ITC 04 before 25th of April for the quarter ended March 2020, for them the period has been relaxed and they could now file the return ITC 04 before 30th of June 2020. Next amendment for the month of May now. We have already covered the period of February, March and April. I like to highlight here, if for any reason you could not file the return pertaining to any period prior to February, that is up to January 2020, then the relaxation is not applicable to you for those periods. Yes, relaxation is available for you for the month of February onwards. But for the period of February, prior to February, that is for the month of January or December, for any tax period, prior to February, if you are filing the return today, then the older provisions of interest, late fees will be applicable on you. Okay. Now we can take up the provision for the month of May. Those taxpayers, those business enterprises whose aggregate annual turnover. Friends, you might have noticed that I am using the word aggregate annual turnover. What is the meaning of this aggregate annual turnover? I'll take up in just after a few minutes. So those business enterprises whose aggregate annual turnover is more than 5 crores. Is less than 5, is more than 5 crores. Then you could file your return of GSTR 3B by 27th of June 2020. Now, what is the meaning of aggregate annual turnover? For example, I am a business enterprise. I am registered in Delhi, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. Okay, I am registered in 3 different states. Then, while calculating the turnover, I have to add the turnover of all the 3 states. Then I have to come to a conclusion whether my turnover is exceeding ₹5 crore threshold limit or not. This adding up of turnover of all India branches is called aggregate annual turnover. So while you are deciding your last date for filing the returns, make sure that the turnover of company as a whole on an all India basis is either less than 5 crores or more than 5 crores. Accordingly, you will be having a different last date for filing the returns. Friends, there is a provision of LUT, letter of undertaking, in GST for the exporters. Like you are into service industry, and if any customer from out of India approaches you to help him in participating in any exhibition outside India, and you are fulfilling all the conditions of export of service, there are 5 conditions. You must be in India, the provider is in India, the recipient, your customer, must be outside India, place of supply must be outside India, you're getting the foreign exchange currency in India, and you and your customer are not related parties. Then you are called exporter. But even if you are not fulfilling these conditions, still you have a provision that you can raise the bill on your client who is situated outside India, either against IGST, meaning thereby you are charging GST on your customer located outside India. But if you charge GST from your customer, obviously your cost will increase because your customer who is located outside India cannot get any input tax credit for the GST charged by you. So there is a provision in GST, and I hope you must be complying, you must be availing this benefit also. So last 3 years of LUT, you can export your service without charging GST against LUT. This is a very simple form. You are supposed to fill up online, and within 2 hours, you get an acknowledgement number, LUT number from the department. So friends, the provision says that the LUT will expire on 31st of March every year, no matter when you had applied. Meaning thereby, for example, if I as a service provider has applied for LUT in the month of March, in the month of April 2019, then my LUT will expire on 31st of March 2020. Or, for example, for the first time, I am doing some export activity, and in the month of March 2020 only, I applied for LUT. Again, this LUT will expire on 31st of March. It doesn't matter when you had applied for the LUT. LUT validity period is up to 31st of March. That is the end of the financial year. So it means that every service provider, every exporter of goods or services have to apply for fresh LUT every financial year. Now, many exporters of goods or services could not apply for LUT in the month of April because of lockdown period. So the department has said that if you are having LUT number for the financial year 2019-20, 2019-20 के अगर आपके पास में LUT number है, then that LUT number is still valid till the period 30th of June 2020. It means that if as an exporter I had applied for LUT in the last financial year of 2019-20, then that LUT number is still valid. It doesn't expired on 31st of March. It is still valid till 30th of June 2020 with a rider that as an exporter, I have to apply a fresh LUT before 30th of June 2020. So in the intervening period of April, May and June, I have the liberty to use the LUT number of financial year 2019-20 in the financial year 2020 also in the month of April, May and June. But I have come to a situation where the exporter is exporting for the first time in the month of April 2020. That exporter did not export anything, any goods or services in the period prior to April 2020. So in those cases, this benefit is not available. Those exporters who are exporting for the first time post GST, they have to apply for LUT before raising any export bill on their customers. Interest liability. Friends, this was a huge controversial issue from the which I have used for the month of February. I have said, for example, I have a total liability of rupees 10 lakh for the month of February 2020, and out of that, I have input tax credit of rupees 8 lakhs, and I'm paying only rupees 2 lakhs from my bank. So there was a controversy as to the levy of interest on this amount, whether I am supposed to pay interest on complete 10 lakh, which is my output liability, or I am supposed to pay interest on only rupees 2 lakh, which I have paid through bank. There was a controversy on this aspect. Fortunately, the department has came out with the amendment provision to the Finance Act last year, 2019, whereby they have said that the interest will be levied only on those portions which you have paid through challan. So in my example, I have paid rupees 2 lakh through challan. I have utilized my 8 lakh rupees of ITC for my output liability. So the Amendment Act says that I will be paying interest only on the cash portion, the challan portion. But again, a controversy erupts. From when this amendment will be applicable? The date on which the government notifies the act, or from 1st July 2017, the date when the GST was implemented in India. In March 2020, the department has issued a press release just after the GST Council meeting. The GST Council has decided in principally that they will be amending this act of levying interest from 1st July 2017, meaning thereby the business enterprise will be liable to pay interest only on the cash portion, only on the challan portion, which they have paid through the bank, and not on the ITC portion. And this benefit will be available to all of us from 1st July 2017. But hold on, this amendment is yet to be implemented. The primary reason was, after last year's budget, all the state government were supposed to amend their act also in the SGST Act. Many states could not do that. And after March 2020 Council meeting, we are seeing the lockdown period. So this provision is not yet implemented. But friends, I am very much hopeful that in the next month, we could see that this provision is being implemented by the government from 1st July 2017. So if you are getting any interest notice, because I have seen in my last 6 months period, that many business enterprises have received notice from the department to pay interest. So I'll strongly advise to all those business enterprises who have received such notice from the department to pay interest. Hold on, don't pay the interest on the ITC portion, pay the interest on the cash portion, on the challan portion, submit a letter to the department mentioning therein the press release issued by the department in March 2020, as well as the amendment brought in by the department through Finance Act 2019. A very good provision, friends. Transfer of balance in electronic cash ledger. What does this mean? This provision is applicable from 21st of April 2020. Friends, you might have noticed that suppose you are liable to pay late fees, but by mistake you deposited penalty amount under the penalty head. Similarly, I have seen many business enterprises who by mistake have deposited CGST, SGST instead of IGST, or vice versa. So there was no provision, there was no option available to us but to pay the tax again. I have the balance in my electronic cash ledger under the head of penalty, but I have no liability against penalty. I'm supposed to pay late fees. So again, I am supposed to deposit the fees, the amount under late fees head, and my amount lying in penalty head will remain as such. Now, from 21st of April 2020, the department has given you an option through a form called GST PMT 09. GST PMT 09. Through this form, you are having the option to transfer the amount from one tax to another tax, meaning thereby from the CGST to SGST or SGST to CGST or IGST, any head you can transfer. Similarly, from tax to interest or interest to tax or penalty to late fees to penalty, you are having a lot of options now. If you have made any mistake while depositing the tax through your challan, now you can rectify that mistake through this form. From ITC, there's a restriction, friends. We all know that we are using ITC to offset our output liability. Prior to 6 October 2019, we were using the ITC balance as per our books of accounts. But now, from 6th of October, they have said that you cannot use the ITC as per your books of accounts, but you are allowed to take the ITC as per GSTR 2A, which is available on your login ID portal, plus 20% of that amount. I just briefly explain this provision now. For example, I have made a purchases in the month of March 2020, okay? And on those purchases, I have paid say rupees 5 lakh as my tax amount. Now, all those vendors from whom I have made the purchases could not file their return GSTR 1, because once the vendor files GSTR 1, then the amount which they disclose in GSTR 1 is reflected in my GSTR 2A. So, meaning thereby, GSTR 1 of my vendor becomes GSTR 2A for me if I have made purchase from a vendor. Okay. So, out of 5 lakh rupees, I am taking the example, out of 5 lakh rupees, the balance available as in GSTR 2A, say, is rupees 4 lakh. So, the Act as amended on 6th of October said that I am eligible to take 4 lakh as available on the portal plus 20%. That is 4.8 lakh rupees as an input tax credit, not the complete amount of 5 lakh rupees, which we were taking earlier. Again, they brought an amendment on 1st of June 2020. They said that no, you will be eligible to take input tax credit of 2A plus 10%, meaning thereby they have reduced the benefit of 20% to 10%. So in my example, I have taken ITC of rupees 4 lakh plus 20%, meaning a total amount is 4.8. Now post 1st January, this amount will be 4.4. 4 lakhs plus 10%, 4.4 lakh rupees. Friend, please note here that, for example, in the total input of 5 lakh rupees, I have made a purchase of motor vehicle for my use, and I have paid tax of rupees 50,000 on that purchase of motor vehicle. So department says, since you are not allowed to take the input tax credit of motor vehicle, so you exclude the amount of tax of 50,000 from the amount available in 2A. So if the total amount available in my GSTR 2A is 4 lakh rupees, out of that 50,000 belongs to my motor vehicle purchases, then the net amount of ITC available to me is rupees 3.5 lakh. And now I am allowed to take input tax credit of 3.5 plus 10%. That is 3.85 lakh rupees only. Earlier, I was allowed to take 5 lakh minus 50,000 of motor vehicle. My total allowed ITC was 4.5 lakh before this amendment. Post amendment, I am allowed to take ITC of 3.85 lakhs. A great hit on the business enterprises, but we have to live with it. Certainly, I don't agree with this amendment, but till the time it is quashed or amended by the department, we have to live with it. Now, post-COVID period, the department has amended this provision. What they have said, they are saying that from February to August, February 2020 to August 2020, you are allowed to take input tax credit as per your books of accounts. As per your books of accounts, not as per GSTR 2A. Meaning thereby, we are back to the provision prior to 6th of October. Friends, please note, the Act has not been amended. They have simply said that for the period of February to August, only for this period, February to August, you are allowed to take the ITC as per your books of accounts. But there is a rider here. What is that? You are allowed to take ITC as per your books of accounts till the period August 2020. But when you are filing the return GSTR 3B for the month of September 2020, then you are supposed to calculate the amount of ITC, eligible ITC. Meaning, what is the meaning of eligible ITC? In my example, I have given you 4 lakh is the total ITC available in my 2A. 50,000 is the ITC for motor vehicle. I have deducted this 50,000 from the total amount available. The net amount was 3.5 lakh. So this is your eligible ITC. Okay. So you calculate your eligible ITC for the period February to August 2020. And if you have taken the ITC more than the amount as calculated by you as per 2A, then you are supposed to reverse the excess amount claimed in the return filed for the period September. So I'm just giving an example now, which will help you in understanding this provision. Say, for example, in GSTR 3B, for the period of February 2020 to August 2020, I have claimed an ITC of 10 lakh. Okay. February 2020 to August 2020, I have claimed the ITC of 10 lakh. But in the month of September 2020, I noticed that the ITC as per GSTR 2A is only rupees 8 lakh. Meaning thereby, there is a shortfall of rupees 2 lakh in your GST portal 2A. Now, as per the provision, I am supposed to reverse this 2 lakh rupees in the GSTR 3B filed for the month of September 2020. So while filing the return of GSTR 31st September, I'll be filing the month of October only. Okay. So while filing the return in October for the period pertaining to September, I'll be reversing rupees 2 lakh which I've claimed earlier. And this 2 lakh rupees can be claimed by me only when it is reflected in GSTR 2A. Okay. We all business enterprises can do this also. No problem. But now, one question arises. Will there be any interest liability if the amount of ITC for February to August is subsequently reduced in the return filed in September? Because section 50 subsection 3 says that if you have claimed excess ITC, then you are supposed to pay interest at the rate of 24% per annum. That is 2% per month. So will the department claim interest at the rate of 2% per month on this 2 lakh rupees excess claimed by me? No clarity. Personally, what I feel, the department must come out with a clarification, because during this COVID period, we are all very much stressed. Our business is completely in shamble condition. So the department must come out with a clarification that no will be charged which is not matching with the ITC of GSTR 2A. Last sprint, before we move to the question answer session. The annual return pertaining to 2018-19, the last date has been extended. Now we are allowed to file the annual return pertaining to period 2018-19, 2018-19 की annual return अब हम लोग फाइल कर सकते हैं till the date 30th September 2020. So we have a time limit till September 2020 to file the annual return for the period 2018-19. Now, who was supposed to file the annual return for the period 2018-19? First, registered persons having aggregate annual turnover less than rupees 2 crores. Those business enterprises whose aggregate annual turnover is less than 2 crores in the financial year immediately preceding 2018-19, meaning thereby, if your aggregate annual turnover for the financial year 2017-18 is less than 2 crore rupees, then you are not liable, you are not compulsory required to file the annual return for 2018-19. But if your turnover exceeds rupees 2 crores but is less than 5 crores, then you are supposed to file GSTR 9 only. Friends, please note that annual return has two parts, has two forms, GSTR 9 and GSTR 9C. So the department has said that if your aggregate turnover is less than rupees 2 crores, then you are not compulsory required to file any of these two forms. Option is available to you. If you want, you can file, but there is no compulsion on you. But if your turnover is above 2 crores but less than 5 crores, then out of these two forms, you are required to file only GSTR 9 and not 9C. So the mandate to you for those business enterprises having turnover of above 2 CR and less than 5 CR are to file GSTR 9 only. But if your turnover is exceeding 5 crores, then you are supposed to file both GSTR 9 and 9C. That's all from my side. We can take up the question answer session, friends. Thank you. Moisa, please unmute yourself.
Sorry. The first question is from Vipulji. Says aggregate means, is it inclusive of GST or excluding GST?
while calculating the turnover, you are not supposed to include GST portion. Only the invoice value, not the tax value.
Okay. Then from Hemanji, we have not received bills for March 2020. How to calculate input tax?
Sir, for taking input tax credit on my last to last day when we have taken up the session, I have already mentioned that for taking input tax credit, you are compulsory required to have your tax invoice with you. If you have not received tax invoice from your vendor for the month pertaining to March, then you are not allowed to take ITC also.
Okay.
So
Then
better get the invoice from your vendor, then only claim the ITC.
And Rajiv ji is saying, do we have to get GST audits done for private limited companies in addition to GSTR 9C filed by a CA?
Do we have to get GST audits done for private companies in addition to GSTR 9C? No, sir, GSTR 9C is the GST audit. An audit can be done, an audit under GST can be done either by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant. So if you are getting audit done by a chartered accountant and getting 9C, that means you are getting audited under GST.
Okay, that's all for the questions. Anybody has any question, he can unmute himself and ask.
Moreji, this is Shailesh Desai.
Haji Shailesh ji.
Good evening. I had a question like, there are companies, principal supplier companies abroad, like in Germany, and the agent work in India, and principal company in Germany is supplying the goods to end user in India. Invoice is made by a German company to a company in Coimbatore. But the agent working in India is raising the debit note for the sales commission or reimbursement of the exhibition expense or advertisement expense. So earlier in the service tax regime, it was being classified as exportable services and there was no service tax. My question to Ramanji is, what is the status in the GST? Is the GST applicable on the sales commission which you are invoicing to a German company?
Sir, I just gave it because since it is a law, I have to again come back to the section now. A bit technical, but I'll try to explain to you in very simple words. What you have told me
Yes.
and what I have understood is that the person in India is only helping the foreign entity to procure orders from India. And for
Yes.
those orders, that person in India is getting the commission. So
Right.
this person in India is called intermediary. In technical term,
Yes.
he is called intermediary. And once an intermediary,
Yes.
then it is qualified not as an export. He doesn't qualify as an export then. And if he is not an export, then he is supposed to charge GST and pay tax on all the sales commission received by him. Even though
Okay.
the person is in India, the foreign company is outside India, he is getting the commission in foreign exchange also. But still, one of the conditions for qualifying you as an export of service is the place of supply. We can take up another day. In case of intermediary, the government has said the place of supply is within India. And they are not qualified as an export then. So the person who is getting commission has to pay tax on the commission amount.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are questions in the chat box from Chetanji. If I have made payment to the party, but if client is not paid our GST, then who is responsible for GST, which I have already paid to?
Sir, sorry. You are responsible. Government cannot do anything for you. The only mechanism practically which is available to you, you can complain to the DST department of your customer. And the department, because the provision says that the purchasing party has to make the payment to his vendor within 180 days. So if your customer is not paying you, legally that your customer is not eligible to take the input tax credit. But you as a supplier has no relief. you have to pay the tax to the government, sir.
Okay. Then Niriksha is asking, due date for GSTR 1 of March 20 has been extended till 30th June. So is there any such relaxation available for GST payable under reverse charge?
We are paying the GST under reverse charge through GSTR 3B and not through GSTR 1. So I've already said that if your turnover is more than 5 crore rupees, then you are supposed to file GSTR 1 on a monthly basis. And while filing GSTR 3B on a monthly basis, and while filing GSTR 3B, you are supposed to discharge RCM liability also. Is it clear?
Niriksha, is that all right? Okay, thank you. She says.
Thank you.
So if there are no further questions, anybody has a question?
Rajiv ji has asked a question.
Yeah, he can ask the question here.
If the supplier does not deposit GST after taking payment, can we take credit?
No.
Rajiv, I could not understand your question. If you can just ask me, unmute yourself and please ask me again.
What I mean to say is that in case my supplier or a subcontractor, he doesn't deposit the GST. You know, suppose I make a payment to somebody and he doesn't deposit GST. What do we do?
Sir, I've already explained just now that the provision has been amended of October, and you are eligible to take the ITC only as per GSTR 2A plus 10% on an excess amount. So if you are having a balance of 4 lakh rupees, for example, in your GSTR 2A, then you are eligible to take ITC of this 4.4 lakhs only.
No, I understand.
You are debarred.
No, I understand. But now in exhibition industry, you have various vendors. Some vendors are regular vendors. Some vendors are new vendors. Suppose my office is in Delhi and we are doing something in Coimbatore. So I have a vendor there. I do business. I pay him. He doesn't deposit, and I keep on chasing for 1 year. If he doesn't, where do we go? Is there a way out, or that money goes?
Legally, as on date, there is no way out. But yes, we have a number of judgments from Supreme Court of India also during the earlier regime of service tax and central excise, whereby the recovery of tax was the responsibility of the exchequers, not the taxpayers. So this provision will also be challenged in Supreme Court, but till then, there is no relief. Rajivji, sorry.
No, I understand. But recovery, once we have paid, so how can I recover? I can't hold his neck to pay, sitting here.
See,
once I can show my challan that I have paid for my client and I have paid to my supplier. More than that, what else can be done?
I understand your view that the default has been committed by the supplier, not by you.
Yeah.
But the department says that since I have not received the tax from a supplier, then how will I give the credit to you? That is their stand.
But I can't be a police to that. You know?
Definitely, that is our stand, sir. Because since I have made the purchases, I have made the complete payment to my vendor. It is a responsibility of the department now to recover the tax from the vendor. Why should I be penalized for that?
Yes.
But situation stands that we are penalized now. Sir.
Okay, I understand. And this 5 CR thing, that is for the pertaining to last year, right? This threshold of 5 CR above or 2 CR.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that, please? No, that is for the turnover, the signed balance sheet for 2019. 18-19.
Yes.
Sorry, 18-19. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Deepali ji is asking if we paid hotel full payment in February 2020, but informed hotel in March. So hotel raised bill tax invoice in March 2020. Can I take input tax credit in February on the basis of working provided in February 2020?
If we paid hotel full amount in February 2020, but informed hotel in March 2020, so hotel raised tax invoice in March 2020. But can I take input tax credit in February on the basis of working provided? No. Ma'am, since you are having the tax invoice dated March, so input tax credit cannot be availed in the month of February. Input tax credit can only be availed post the tax invoice raised on you, not prior to that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, another question from Aishwarya. if we have client in India, but we do exhibition outside India for them, so do we have to register for LUT?
Option is available to you. Either you can raise the bill against LUT or against IGST. In both the cases, even if you are paying that, raising the bill against IGST, still you are eligible to get the refund from the department. Or if you are getting, if you are raising the bill against LUT, then also you are eligible to take the refund for the inputs used by you. Choice is yours, man.
Avinash ji is asking if we have taken sponsorship money from sponsors on behalf of organizer in our account. So GST benefits will be received by the organizer or to us.
No, if the organizer is supposed to receive the sponsorship money, but you are simply acting as an agent on behalf of the organizer. For example, I say that Maruti is giving some sponsorship money to ISA. And on behalf of ISA, More Saab has received 10 lakh rupees from Maruti, and More Saab then pays 10 lakh to ISA. Then in this case, More Saab is just an agent, nothing more than that. So More Saab has no liability of GST. All the liability of GST on this service will be discharged by ISA. I hope I'm able to clarify your question, Avinash ji. Niriksha has raised a question again. Is there any delay in payment of such GST under reverse charge? Is there any interest? Yes, ma'am. If you're delaying your payment of reverse charge liability, then yes, you are supposed to pay interest at currently at the rate of 9%. After 24th of June, it is 18%.
Okay, next is Shikha. If an unregistered person raises a commission invoice on the entity, is GST by of RCM payable by the entity?
Shikha ma'am, the government has made two sections for reverse charge. One was called 9.3 and another was called 9.4. 9.4 has been suspended. 9.3 is still applicable. In 9.3, they have specified 13 services on which RCM is applicable. It doesn't matter whether the service provider is registered or unregistered. In case of 9.3, you have to check the services availed by you, whether it is falling within the of section 9.3 or not. For example, advocates, sponsorship, transport agencies, these are all falling under 9.3.
Moresab, I have a question here. Rajiv.
Sir, one more question, Deepali here.
Yeah, ma'am.
Suppose I raise the bill in the month of January to the client and in the month of 2 lakh rupees. And in the month of May, he paid only 1 lakh rupees to me, but I paid the GST on 2 lakhs. Then what is supposed to be done by me?
So your client is will be paying the balance amount, or
no? He said, no, I don't have any income. I will pay only 1 lakh rupees. So
and you have agreed for that?
Yeah, we have to. Don't have any option.
We have okay. You have agreed for that. No, that you have. It means that you have settled your bill for 1 lakh instead of 2 lakh rupees. You have settled for 1 lakh rupees.
Correct.
There is no problem, ma'am. There is a provision in section 34 that you can raise a credit note on your customer.
Okay.
When you raise the credit note, you will be reducing the liability of GST.
Okay. Okay.
So that way you can offset your liability, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That credit note will be of 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakhs and
1
then
lakh
revised.
Balance amount.
Okay. Credit.
Forgone.
Okay. Credit note only. Okay. Thank you.
Moresab, I have a small question.
Please,
Rajiv here. So suppose as she asked about this January bill, and after 6 months the client says, okay, we did not take in our accounts that bill. Generally, like clients, they come up suddenly and they say, okay, we forgot, or it is lying in a drawer or whatever. We are chasing for the payment. So later on, they say, okay, issue us a fresh invoice. So we have already paid the GST for that in the month of Jan, and in August they just wake up and they say, okay, we'll pay, but issue a fresh invoice in the next financial year or in the same financial. What is the option there for us?
Rajiv, sorry, could not answer your question properly. Now, will you please repeat again? Don't mind it.
All I'm saying is that in case in January I raise a bill and client just keeps in his drawer, and in the month of August he says, okay, we forgot or whatever, and now we plan to pay the same amount. but raise a fresh bill in the month of August so that they can take a credit, you know, and then we have to raise another invoice. So
Rajiv, legally there is no option available, but what practically you can do, you can raise a credit note for the complete amount of rupees 2 lakh which for the bill which you have raised in the month of January.
which pertains to the previous financial year.
Yes. Okay. And then you can raise a fresh bill. But mind it, this section says that you are supposed to raise a tax invoice within 30 days from the date of providing service. So, for example, if your exhibition services are provided in the month of January on 15th of January, and you are raising a tax invoice in the month of August, then you are in scoop.
But if the client has, you know, he forgot to pay or he has kept it, he has, generally that's how we raise maybe 20 invoices to him. One they just okay, they will pay, okay, we'll pay, and that doesn't get paid, and after 5-6 months we still are chasing them, and then they say, okay, can you raise a new invoice? It's a very standard problem.
Very true, Rajiv. What we advise to our clients in this case, no, while raising another invoice, raise a credit note first, nullify your tax amount, and then raise a tax invoice. And in this new tax invoice, do mention the reference, give the reference number of the earlier tax invoice.
Okay.
So when the department says you that you have violated section 31, you have not raised the invoice within the stipulated period of 30 days, you can very much say, sir, I had raised the invoice. This is my reference number. You can check my GSTR 1 for month of January also. But this client has misplaced this invoice. So I was supposed to raise another invoice on him.
So you also mentioned that within 30 days, what was that stipulation? I missed that.
So the section 6 is your service provider. For the service provider, the section says all the service provider has to issue the invoice within 30 days from the date of service. And in your case, the date of service will be the date of when the exhibition starts. Because obviously, your complete service ends on the date the exhibition has started.
I understand. So it is not as per my whim and fancy that I can bill later.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. Not at all.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more question from Chetan.
Yes.
Once we take LUT number in case of foreign party invoicing, that LUT number applicable for the whole period, you have mentioned that.
Yes, sir, Chetanji, if you are applying for an LUT, that LUT is applicable throughout the financial year. Validity of that LUT expires on 31st of March only. So that LUT number can be used for all the invoices you are raising that particular financial year.
So one question.
Please.
Sir, see, we are from Chennai and the client has given me the job from Andhra.
Okay.
The expo is happening in Pune. We had given it to a vendor who is in Mumbai. Now we can understand.
You are in Chennai.
Yes, sir.
Your customer is in Bangalore.
Andhra.
Okay.
Okay. The exhibition is happening in Pune.
It means there are 3 states involved.
Yes.
You are in Tamil Nadu. Your customer is in Andhra Pradesh, and exhibition is being held in Maharashtra.
Maharashtra.
Okay.
So my vendor is doing it from Mumbai. He's taking the material to Pune. In which he's taking the materials for the e-way.
From Chennai to Pune.
No. From Mumbai to Pune.
Okay.
But he is asking me to provide the e-way bill. I told no. Yeah, the logic is you should make a e-way bill, but he's not allowing. He's telling to make from Chennai itself. Is that to be done?
Sir, for e-way bill, there is simple only 2 provisions. I think you were not there in the last session. E-way bill provision says that e-way bill can be raised only when there is a movement of goods. In your case, the goods have been moved from Mumbai to Pune. So first condition is fulfilled. Second condition is it can be raised either by the buyer or by the seller. So if your vendor is not comfortable in raising the e-way bill, you as a buyer has an option to raise the e-way bill. There is no problem.
Can do, no problem now. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Anybody else has any question? So thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Excellent this thing. Those who are really into this system will understand what needs to be done, and we are all from all the people, we are thanking you. Somebody is asking for your number. I think it was given.
Again, for those persons who could not attend the last session, I'm just repeating for the benefit of those persons. I don't want to deprive them also. Like I've given an offer last time also to all the ISA members to get their GST records checked by my team for the period January to March 2020. The financial year 1920, fourth quarter, I'm offering to audit all your GST records compliances without any charge from any of the ISA members throughout India. So if anyone wants to avail this service, just contact Anita ma'am. She has the number, she has my email ID, and you can contact me. And thanks for your participation, friends. Thanks a lot to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.